there's no place like home for the holidays. And no matter how far away you roam, if you pine for the sunshine of a friendly gaze, for the holidays you can.
Welcome back to Horror for the Holidays, a Christmas horror movie podcast. I'm Jay Logsdon.
I'm Jeff Searcy, but with a burlap sack over my head.
Oh, God. Like one of those chainsaw guys from Resident Evil 4?
Yes.
I think that's the last. No, I think I played Resident Evil 5. I think that's the last Resident Evil game I played. Although some of the new games do look like a lot of fun.
Yeah, there are a couple decent ones, and the remakes of the originals are pretty good.
Although, like, why remake? In my mind, why remake 4? Like, it's already... Because I understood, like, remaking the other ones with the new system. Mm-hmm. Why remake 4 with the exact same system? Like, just to make it look better?
Well, as I say, they changed elements of the story and stuff, too.
Oh, cool.
A lot of people said it was worth checking out.
Well, I might... if I ever buy a next-gen console, I'll have... That's not a Nintendo Switch. I'll have to check it out.
Speaking of that new Mario Friday.
Oh, I'm excited for that. I think my whole family is excited for Super Mario Wonder. That looks like a blast. I don't know what else to really to talk about.
Been doing any Halloween related activities?
Other than working for the major Halloween retailer, no, not particularly this week.
Yeah. I don't know. We were thinking about maybe doing that Phantom Fall Fest thing, but we weren't really sure.
Heard it's pretty family friendly. So like a lot of families are taking their kids. I think it's still fun, but I have heard that it's family friendly.
Maybe skip that then and go to the Ames Haunted Forest.
There's like dsmhauntedhouse.com. I'll send it to you after the show. But it's got a whole list of all the things. But yeah, listener, did you do anything fun like we told you to at the end of the last episode?
No, they never do what we tell them.
If so, leave us a comment. Let us know. Let us know what you got up to this past week. But while you're doing that, let's get into it. We'll deck the halls, but spooky. Oh, I guess we forgot to mention that it is the fourth week of the 2023 Horror for the Holidays Halloween Spooktacular.
The 2023 Horror for the Holidays Halloween Spooktacular.
One and the same.
Good.
So yeah, we forgot to get that branding in at the top of the episode. But yeah, it is the fourth week. So we'll deck the halls, but spooky for our 2007 Trick or Treat.
Trick or Treat.
Yep, not Trick or Treat, the movie about the demon rock star. About a demon, like some kind of
a demon,
some kind of weird Digimon. But no, not the movie about like the demon fighting rock star, but Trick or Treat, the 2007 Michael Dougherty film.
Made in 2007, but not actually seen by anyone until 2009.
Yep. Then then didn't get a theatrical release until 2022. Probably one of the biggest mistakes I think theater companies have ever made.
Oh my God! You mean studios dropped the ball again?
Yeah, that right up there with releasing the Flash movie, but not releasing the Brendan Fraser like Michael Keaton helmed Batgirl movie.
Yeah, well, whatever.
All right. Well, both these movies were Warner Brothers, so that does kind of add up. Even though different regimes, it does kind of add up.
Word has it that the long-delayed and shelved sequel is supposed to actually be happening this time.
I had that down
Legendary.
as well. Yeah, I'm excited. Hopefully that does happen. But yeah, we'll like we were saying, 2007, a bunch of public screenings. I think did kind of toured around festivals. 2009 dropped pretty much direct to DVD and Blu-ray. And then finally last year in 2022, it got a series of theatrical releases.
Yeah, and it's Fathom Events, I believe, is hosting it this year at Cinemark Theaters.
I've thought about I thought about trying to go last year. I think it was just at whatever B&B was. I think was the closest one to us. But then I saw this year. I was like, if I can make that work, I might have to swing out there. Written and directed, like we said, by Michael Dougherty. Who also wrote and directed the MonsterVerse movies, or has written and directed movies within the MonsterVerse.
Yes.
Like I don't think wrote and directed directed all of them,
I
but
believe he directed Godzilla King of the Monsters, and he wrote Godzilla vs. Kong.
okay. Those are I don't think I've seen those two. I saw I saw Kong and I saw the first Godzilla movie. I don't think I've gotten around to seeing.
I'd say if you choose one to watch, Godzilla vs. Kong is the best one in my opinion.
All right, yeah, have to give that a shot. But also pertinent to our interests, did the 2015 Krampus movie. These movies do take place in the same universe. There's a very small connection scene in Krampus that basically implies that they're happening in the same universe, which I think kind of makes for a neat closed little universe without having much crossover.
Yeah. Well, and apparently the character in this was originally from a short he did in 1996.
And then I think
Sam.
Did I see there's like been a couple other shorts in the years since that have dropped with like Sam doing different stuff. I'd like to look those up as well. Character actor Dylan Baker as Principal Wilkins. He's been in all sorts of stuff.
You recognize him. I mean, Brian Cox.
Yep.
He's in here as Mr. Krieg.
Yep. Brian Cox, yeah. Old as mean old Mr. Krieg, I think is what I wrote down. He's done all sorts of stuff. For me, the thing, I mean, for Jeff, it's going to be whatever that new Lord of the Rings movie or whatever, War of the Rohirrim that Brian Cox is in. He's been on all sorts of stuff. For me personally, he was in the Red Dragon adaptation called Manhunter. He played Dr. Lecter. Dr. Hannibal Lecter.
Dr. Lecter, eh?
Quinn Lord is our kind of framing device of sorts. He plays Sam. He also plays a peeping Tom in one of the scenes. Probably second biggest name, Anna Paquin.
Yeah, probably, I would say.
Plays Lori. And if rumors are to be believed about Scream 7 being set at Christmas time, a thing Jeff and I brought up after we talked about Scream 6.
Yes.
But if rumors are to be believed, maybe we'll have to watch all the Scream movies. And if that's the case, we will see Anna Paquin in Scream 4.
Excellent.
Which I think Scream 4 is pretty good. Derek McIver, who is credited as Centaur Guy in this movie, a year before was in the 2006 Black Christmas remake. C. Ernest Harth is the giant baby in the werewolf thing.
Hashtag big baby.
He also plays the great child in 2001's 13 Ghosts.
Okay.
Which I just thought was kind of funny. Like, oh shit, it's he's doing the same thing again, essentially. And then also Laurie Memel plays Allie in this movie. I assume Allie's probably one of the werewolves.
Yeah.
Ed was the bound woman in 13 Ghosts. So I thought we've got 2 of the 13 ghosts. We just need 11 more and we can do whatever Tony Shalhoub's uncle was trying to do in that movie.
Something.
Christy Wiles, who plays Mrs. Henderson, the lady dressed as a cat. Know the scene I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah, that scene.
Is in a movie called The 12 Disasters of Christmas. Will it be as good as Chris Stam's Twister?
I doubt it.
Time will tell, but I added it to our list because I did not know about 12 Disasters of Christmas.
I don't know if anything could be as good as Chris Stam's Twister.
Gerald Pates, who plays a school bus driver, did stunts on Wind Chill, which up until we started doing this podcast was the worst Christmas horror movie I'd ever seen.
I still haven't seen it.
I mean, my memory is still that Wind Chill is not very good, but I think it's probably better than Trapped Alive, The American Scream, Barricade.
Okay. Well, that's good to know.
I counted at least 10 people. I think it's probably closer to 15 that appeared in like Smallville, Supernatural, those Arrowverse shows. Like I just kind of a way of saying, like, even though we're not going to name every single actor in this movie, they've all gotten work.
Tamo Penniket, he's Carl Agathon in Battlestar Galactica. So we got yet another Battlestar Galactica actor.
And I think I saw someone was on Caprica, the Battlestar spinoff.
Prequel, yeah. A lot of Canadian actors in this.
Filmed in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Special shout out for Douglas Pipes, who did an excellent job on the soundtrack. I think composer or whatever.
Yeah.
That's a soundtrack. I maybe not as iconic as the Halloween soundtrack. or even probably like Exorcist. I think Exorcist probably has a better soundtrack. But like, I've been listening a lot to Sirius XM Scream Radio, and the Trick or Treat theme comes on, and it's such a good theme.
Speaking of Exorcist and having a good soundtrack, what would be insane is if you made a new Exorcist movie and didn't include that theme hardly at all.
That would be insane. I'm sure that's not what happened in the new one. David Gordon Green clearly knows what he's doing.
Oh yeah.
But also Douglas Pipes also does the Krampus soundtrack. So
Also a good soundtrack.
Yep. So we'll get that again. $12 million budget, which clearly is put to good use. Like, I couldn't fathom spending $12 million, but some of the movies we see get made for hundreds of millions of dollars that look like utter shit, and for $12 million you made this amazing movie. Like, really impressive.
Yeah.
Seeing as Michael Dougherty was involved with like all the X-Men movies, I'm sure they all cost more than $12 million.
Oh, yeah. Well, and he wrote X2, one of the best regarded ones.
Yep. And then this comes out for $12 million and looks better than I think most of those X-Men movies do.
Oh yeah, no, there's nothing in this movie that make you think it was a lower budget.
Yep. Spawned multiple comics, action figures, all sorts of Halloween merchandise, especially at Spirit. When I'm working there, I'm seeing Sam stuff every day. But supposedly, like Jeff mentioned, supposedly a sequel in the works. So fingers crossed.
Well, with all the pull he's got at Legendary, I'm pretty sure he can make it happen.
Yeah. You can watch this, like Jeff said, you can watch this in theaters. You can watch this on Max, currently streaming there. It's bounced around through streaming platforms a lot. I've noticed over the years.
Used to be on Netflix, but I don't know what happened there.
Yeah. And then also available on DVD, Blu-ray from Shout Factory, Scream Factory. Personal experience with this movie, Jeff?
I believe I watched it once a long time ago with my brother, because I had like vague memories of a few of the scenes, but I can't honestly remember when I watched it before.
So I'd seen it. It was one of those movies that kind of, like you said, was on Netflix for a long ass time. And I would see it in, like, I'd go to Walmart, go to Target and be like, oh, that looks interesting, but I didn't buy it, whatever, just walked by, didn't watch it on Netflix. And then, when I heard Krampus was coming out, I'm like, oh shit, like I should try to check out Trick or Treat. And it wasn't anywhere that I could find at that point in time.
Of course not.
So, went and saw Krampus in theaters, and I heard the rumor about the thing that's connecting the two movies. So looked the whole movie. I was like, oh, that guy Sam will be in Krampus. He was not. I was like, oh, he's going to be in the background. So every background scene, I'm like glimpsing around to see if I see him. And it was until I like Google it later to find out what the connection was. And I think I only finally saw it maybe like 3-4 years ago. But I mean, fantastic movie. Like, well worth that hype that, I almost waited a decade to finally see it. Like
a decade in the making.
Yep. But yeah, that's my personal experience. Do you have anything else for Deck the Halls before we hop on in?
Other than the fact that I read a couple interesting, apparently, so obviously a lot of great practical effects in this movie. When the fat kid who steals all the candy is like vomiting from that poison candy he gives him. Apparently that was like some kind of chocolate syrup flavor concoction that they made up so that it would taste decent so you could do multiple takes. So apparently they made that and like some edible blood for people to spit up and stuff like that so that they could because usually when you do those scenes where like the blood gushes out of somebody's mouth or whatever, they try to get it out as quickly as possible because it tastes terrible. This way they could let it kind of ooze down more naturally. No, it looks so good. That's one of my favorite scenes of the whole movie. So yes, those kills would also be delicious. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we'll just kind of dive into it. This is an anthology, kind of like it. I think it's in the similar vein to A Christmas Horror Story that we did earlier this year. But I think it's a bit more cohesive. I think it kind of. Yeah, I was gonna say honestly, it doesn't even really feel like an anthology because all the stories are woven together so well. Yeah. But because it's an anthology and it'd be kind of hard to keep our thoughts separate. We're just gonna kind of be using the Wikipedia synopsis
to kind of help guide our way through. So we're going to kind of break the stuff down, but a lot of the stuff does like interact with itself. And if we remember as we're talking about it, we'll try to kind of call back to things that we saw. So just fair warning to all of our listeners. I mean, I guess they can stop listening to the episode and just read the Wikipedia synopsis if they wanted to, or just fast forward to the end. But we're going to kind of try and, like I said, keep everything more together.
We'll be a little more informative than that, hopefully.
Yeah. So it starts off with some old timey, like black and white Halloween footage, kind of going over like the rules of Halloween.
Don't go to a stranger's house. Well, then how am I supposed to get candy?
Yeah. And it's kind of similar rules from WNUF where it's like, hey, and travel with someone you know. We're not talking about a friend from school or make sure it's a parent. Like it felt very like the officers' rules in WNUF.
Yeah.
I was like, where have I recently heard dumb rules for Halloween? Oh yeah, WNUF Halloween special. And then it kind of, we get like, I think like a loud kind of screech. We get the Sam face jack-o'-lantern thing. And then it starts off with, it's Halloween night in Warren Valley, Ohio. And we are kind of introduced to Emma and her husband, Henry. And they are,
coming home after a long night of debauchery.
Yeah, getting back from a Halloween party. Emma, who just does not seem to like Halloween, is kind of fed up with the whole thing. Like, Henry tries to stop her from blowing out the candle, like in the jack-o'-lantern. He's like, Halloween tradition, you gotta leave it lit till midnight. I've never heard that tradition, but
I had heard that from Supernatural.
I mean, since I heard it on in this movie, I've tried to leave my Halloween candle lit until midnight every year since.
Well, they're supposed to keep the spirits from messing with you, so you have to leave it on until the door is closed.
And so she goes and blows out the candle, and basically like their whole front yard is decorated for Halloween, and she's like, you need to take this down, and he's like, Can it wait till morning? And she's like, no, my mother's coming over. She's going to have an aneurysm if she sees this.
He's like, well, I don't care about your mother because I want to fuck.
Yeah. He's like stare. He's like, looking, he's giving her the look. And she's like, go upstairs and watch the video, which I assume is supposed to be like a sex tape that they made.
I'm assuming that's their pre-workout.
It's called Animal Documentary or something like that.
Yeah.
And so he's upstairs watching that as she's pulling off all the sheets and stuff like that. And we get a couple POV shots of Sam like kind of investigating what's going on. And she like mutters that she hates Halloween. At one point, there's kind of a bit of like a tension building moment where there's like someone standing across the street wearing like one of those all white kind of like face masks, just kind of staring at her.
And then he finally gets in the car with his friends and drives off.
Yeah, and so just kind of builds tension. You think it's gonna burst right there. She keeps kind of taking the stuff down for Halloween, throws the sheets in like the basket, and then the baskets jump up and like kind of swarm all over. She starts to crawl away through like the gate at the entrance to their house right in front of some kids. She's yelling for help and everything. And then we see this lollipop like come out with a bite mark in it and just slit her throat as blood like splatters all over the inside of the three kids that are out trick-or-treating, just quickly turn and run the other way.
Trick or treat.
We get our awesome like comic book themed opening credit sequence. Shows like a bunch of different stuff.
Oh yeah.
Which
very like Tales from the Crypt style opening.
Yeah. And I really need artwork. I think some of those images were used in a Trick or Treat like comic series. So it fits really well. But yeah, just a real neat opening. And then we cut to like I think it says earlier we're getting kind of a news broadcast about how 364 days of the year. Warren Valley, is that what we said?
Yep, Warren Valley.
Is a sleepy little town, but they have the biggest Halloween parade, blah, blah, blah. People from all over the globe flock to Warren Valley for Halloween. And we kind of get all these people like getting ready to party. We're in like a costume shop, and I think there's a kid like peeping on these girls talking about, the party they're going to later that night. I think it cuts to like, maybe we see, does Principal Wilkins then kind of like show up here?
Yes, it's the first one it goes through is Charlie. the fat kid
Oh yeah.
destroying the
So
pumpkins.
yeah. So we're like we kind of get that stuff. Yeah. We see this chubby fat kid.
Just going along, kicking pumpkins,
Yep.
being a general pain in the
I
ass.
maybe carrying a baseball bat and like knocking him over.
I don't know. I saw him kick one for sure.
Okay. Then no, I think later on there's a baseball bat pumpkin involved thing, and then he goes up to this like empty house. All the lights are off. And there's a little sign that says like, "Please take one."
And so of course he shoves his fat hand in there and starts grabbing as many as he
Yeah,
can carry.
and then you hear behind him, someone goes like, "Charlie, be careful. That can't be good for your diabetes."
Mm-hmm.
And it's the owner of the house. We're introduced to Principal Wilkins.
Creepy immediately.
Yeah, and he tries to kind of he talks to the kid a little bit, and he's like, back in my day, we had rules for Halloween.
Well, proving that Charlie isn't a real fat kid, I put this in my notes. He tries to run when the principal catches him. He's like, "Oh no, it's fine."
And so he like makes him sit down. I think gives him a candy bar.
Yep.
And then he starts to. He's like, back in my day, we had rules for Halloween. You did this, you did this. Halloween's supposed to be a thing where you're inviting the ghosts of the past to come visit you or something like that. And then like Charlie like has like devoured this chocolate bar as the principal's talking to him, and you just hear like that gut sound, just like of his whole stomach turning.
And there's one more Halloween tradition, Charlie. Always check your candy.
Yeah, and he just starts puking everywhere.
And apparently it's cyanide that he put in the candy bar.
Okay. But yeah, that's the scene Jeff's talking about, where it's just this fountain of chocolate vomit just
oh
pouring
my
out of the
God.
kid's stomach.
It looks disgusting and amazing at the same time.
And so like Principal Wilkins kind of no one sees. Principal Wilkins picks him up, takes him into the house.
Well, he drags him into the house because he's having a lot more trouble
Yeah.
than he thought.
Yeah, it's like pulling him by the legs. And then, of course, to show that comedy, wouldn't you know it, the doorbell instantly rings, like right as he does that. Oh, and as he's moving Charlie around, you keep hearing like vomit sounds kind of like trickling out. And like at one point, I think he like picks him up, and you just hear whoosh, as like just more just vomit goes down his
when
shirt.
he throws open the door for the trick-or-treaters, he's got like a disgustingly destroyed shirt with blood and vomit all over him.
And like 3 of the kids run away, and then he's like, "Don't you want your candy?"
And he hands out the candy, and then the one kid's like noticing that the blood is real blood, and he's like, "Happy Halloween!"
and then he's like kind of like looks at the kids. Then he looks down, and Sam, our
He's like, "What?
icon.
What? Didn't you get one?" And then Sam takes a piece of candy, which, as we'll learn later, is why Sam didn't kill him.
Yep.
Probably.
And then runs off. And we then cut to like Principal Wilkins. He's dug a grave in his backyard.
Trying to drag the body out there, and he finally manages to toss it in the hole, and that's when the neighbor's dog starts going crazy.
Yeah, Spite the dog starts barking at him like crazy, and he chops off one of Charlie's fingers and throws it over the fence like a sausage.
And then, of course, because when you have a kid, this always happens. Annoying kid starts yelling at the top of his lungs from the window.
His son Billy like, "Hey Dad, I just got home.
I come home from trick-or-treating, Dad.
Hey Dad, can you help me carve the jack-o'-lantern?"
You know I need help with the eyes, Dad.
And then he's like,
He's
"Go,
like, shush, Billy.
Billy, just go and watch. It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown.
Charlie Brown is an asshole. Billy Wilkins, language."
And so
he's causing a giant scene, and the dog is still not calming down. So that makes Old Man Krieg come out and wonder what the hell is going on.
Yeah, he's yelling around trying to figure it out. That's when Principal Wilkins kind of shoots up. He's like, "Oh, it's just me, Mr. Krieg. You can go back inside." He's like, "Oh, what's that smell?"
Wilkins, weirdo.
What's that smell? Oh, it's got a septic tank issue.
Yeah, it's leaking out here. Well, fix it.
It smells like a dead whore. And then while they're like talking, Charlie starts to like wake up, and he's
Bam.
"What was that, Wilkins? Nothing. Happy Halloween." And then we get this scene where like he takes the shovel and like kind of puts it up to Charlie's head, like stamps down on it.
Yes, just violently destroys him with the shovel.
So then we time fast forwards. The grave is now filled, and there's a tree sitting on top of it.
Yes, so he's got that planted, and he goes to go back in the house, and Mr. Krieg is pounding on his window like, Wilkins, Wilkins, help me!
And we'll figure out what that's all about later.
Well, and Wilkins is like, asshole, walks inside. Go fuck yourself, Mr. Krieg.
And so he gets inside. His son Billy pops up and scares him, dressed in a Halloween costume. Oh, I think we get a line too where, like, when Billy's being annoying, he's like, I want to go with you for Halloween. I want to.
Daddy has a date tonight.
Yeah, I want to go with you for Halloween. I want to. I want you to help me carve the jack-o'-lantern. I miss mommy.
Mm-hmm. Why did mommy have to die? Nag.
And so he's like, all right, Billy, we'll go downstairs and carve the jack-o'-lantern. And he pulls a knife out of the knife block. And they go downstairs.
You think this is not going to be good.
Yep. And so he's like, Daddy, you need to help me with the eyes. I need it to be a scary face. And he pulls up the knife, and we get this and he puts his hand on top of Billy's head, and we get this zoomed in shot as he brings the knife down, and then he pulls it out, and there's blood dripping off the blade, and we're like, oh shit, he just killed his son. And then he's like, what do you think, Billy? And Billy's like, oh, I love it, and it's Charlie's head.
Mm-hmm. God, that kid does such a good creepy line when he's like, let's do a scary face this time.
As we go back through, like, we kind of cut to more scenes happening in the city, or in the town. And like, I think at one point some of the kids that like went to visit Principal Wilkins are some kids that we see like wandering around a little later.
Well, and of course, Principal Wilkins also gave away a jack-o'-lantern.
Yep.
To the kids he scared with his terrible Halloween costume.
And so those same kids go to the party that we were talking about during our Duck the Halls segment.
Yes. The sex party.
And there's the lady's like dressed as a cat, clearly drunk off her ass.
Mm-hmm. And she leaves the door hanging open for these kids while somebody's getting ass rammed on the table behind him.
And I think at one point, like, one of the kids, Chip, like the pirate, is like, oh man, like, oh yeah, this is all the Halloween present I need.
He's loving it.
And so they also ask for a jack-o'-lantern, and then you get a line. One of them says like, "Oh man, why is this so hard? Why is it so hard to find a jack-o'-lantern?" And then it's like, well, someone's gone around smashing a bunch of them, and
fucking Charlie,
yeah, fucking Charlie, tying it all back together. They go to pick up they pick up Schrader. I forget the name of the two other girls.
There's Macy is the bitchy one.
Okay. Sarah, I think. Yeah. And then they go and they get the last girl, Rachel, whose like entire house is decorated with jack-o'-lanterns.
Or is she? I think her name's Rhonda.
Rhonda, yeah. And so, that one of the kids makes like a derogatory comment about her, and then it's like, no, she's really nice. She's just, she just really likes Halloween, I think is kind of
she's an idiot savant, I believe is what Macy says.
And so they go to the abandoned quarry. They take their jack-o'-lanterns to the abandoned quarry.
Their excuse for wanting these jack-o'-lanterns is weak as hell. I didn't even believe it the first time I heard it.
UNICEF.
We're doing a scavenger hunt for UNICEF.
I could see that.
Oh yeah. So they're gonna want a bunch of rotting pumpkins piled up in their office.
But they go to the quarry, and that's when like Chip's like, oh, the story of the Halloween school bus massacre. So we have a title for the name of our segment.
And that's when Macy tells the story.
So they're basically some of the families in town had special needs kids that they couldn't control.
And they're naturally like, well, we're tired of this. Yeah, we find a way to get rid of these kids.
So these awful parents basically pay off the school bus driver to go drive
murder our kids, please.
Yep. So he drives them to a quarry on Halloween. They're all dressed in Halloween costumes, very very neat looking Halloween costumes, and basically one of the kids is aware they're like at the wrong place. Like he counts the numbers of the houses as they drive, and so he notices, like, he starts muttering like wrong way, and so he goes, as the school bus driver goes and like checks all the locks on all the kids' like seat belts.
Well, and he's handing out a piece of candy to all of them, which I was trying to figure out, is the candy supposed to be like a tranquilizer for him, or?
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
I don't think he was planning on driving himself into the quarry.
Right. So he kind of goes to the back of the bus. The vampire kid's able to get his hands out of the restraints, And you see like the school bus driver get to the last kid in the bus. He turns around and because he hears the school bus start, and he turns around, he sees the vampire kid like messing around trying to get, the bus to start driving. He's muttering home to himself. And then as the school bus driver goes to run to the front of the bus, one of the kids sticks out a leg and trips him. And so he falls forward. The kid's able to get the bus in gear and drives it off the quarry edge.
Drives into the pool of water at the bottom of the quarry, and the only person who escapes is the driver.
Yep. And so, and it's so funny to me that like when they get down to the bottom of the quarry, the school bus is clearly visible. And it's like, so all they needed to do to investigate was just go and stop at the quarry.
I got a feeling that no one wanted to investigate this crime.
Yeah. So
that's when Macy says the reason that they got the jack-o'-lanterns is one jack-o'-lantern for each dead kid.
Yeah. So they're taking them all down there to like pay tribute. And so Rhonda's kind of the last one to go down.
Well, they managed to mysteriously split it up so that only Rhonda and Chip are left up on the first level while they all go down.
And so there's a cool effect where it's like real foggy in the bottom of the quarry, and you watch as the jack-o'-lanterns start to go out.
Yep, one by one they flicker out.
As Chip and Rhonda are riding down the elevator. Chip and Rhonda get separated as Rhonda goes to as they both go to find their missing friends. And she gets to the edge of the quarry, sees the school bus, sees sees a bunch of masks floating, and then her leg gets grabbed, and we see these zombies start to rise out of the lake. They start chasing after her. She rounds a corner and sees Chip his entrails out and shit like that. And she runs and she kind of falls into not I don't think it's into the actual pool, but there was kind of some pooled water.
Yeah, I think she falls off a little ledge into a big puddle.
Yeah.
And loses her glasses.
Yeah, and I think then kind of loses consciousness as and then you hear one of the zombies say oh shit.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
And Rhonda comes to, and it turns out that the zombies and Chip are all those were the kids. Everyone's fine.
When she first wakes up, they still have their masks on, so she starts screaming again.
Yep. But yeah, it turns out they're all fine.
Turns out Macy's a real bitch.
Yep. And so and then at one point it's well, that was real interesting. What about the school bus? And she's like, that's the only part that's true.
Schrader is the only one who seems he's nicer to Rhonda than the other kids.
Yeah, Schrader's real sweet, and he feels bad for what he did.
He seems like he doesn't really even want to do this, and after she gets super scared, he's the only one who seems to really give a shit.
Yeah, and so Schrader is sitting with her kind of in the elevator cage, and the other kids, Macy, Sarah, and Chip are all kind of talking, and then
the actual undead kids come out of the lake.
Yeah, we hear giggling, children giggling and shit like that as the zombie children rise from the lake, and they start chasing after it. I think because Chip's got all his fucking entrails waving behind him as he runs, he just gets grabbed and pulled backwards.
And basically, Rhonda sees this happening, and she's like, well, you guys tried to scare me to death, so here you go. Close the elevator door. Yeah,
Schrader goes out to try and help them get away. And then when they get back to the elevator cage, Rhonda's just sitting in there. She's already locked the door. And Schrader's like, Rhonda, help me. She's holding the key. It zooms in on her holding the key. And her hand moving, and then she just presses the up button as the elevator moves away.
She thinks about it for a minute, but I saw a lot of people being like, "Oh, well, Schrader was nice to her or whatever." It's yeah, he was nicer to her than the other kids, but I mean, he still went through with the prank.
Yep.
So obviously, he's not that nice, or he would have warned her.
Right. And so she gets to the top of the elevator, and walks away as you still hear the kids being murdered by zombies.
Well, and she has, I think, what protects her is she has the only lit jack-o'-lantern left, which calls back to the beginning.
Yeah, where they talked about it. Yeah, you don't
protection.
And as she walks away, I forgot to mention earlier, as the school bus was driving to the quarry, we saw Sam standing by the roadside.
We see Sam again now at the quarry, and Rhonda just kind of gives him a little nod, and he just lets her pass.
Yep. I thought that was just a really cute scene. We then we'll kind of go back because, like I said, these things are all
These
kind of
are all happening simultaneously, but we're just trying to go through them like as a narrative for each one.
So those girls that were talking in the costume shop, they're picking up boys to go to a party. Talked about all the parties they've been to in previous years.
This costume makes my tits pop out. Yeah, that's the idea.
And then at one point, and because these two things wind up being related.
Oh, and on a rewatch, a lot of the conversations that the girls have really gives you a hint as to what's going on.
Oh yeah, no, totally.
Especially because at the time I was like, but now I totally get it because she's like, oh, and hers was a girl, and she's like, yeah, but they all taste the same anyway.
Yeah, which like, oh, you think it's supposed to be like, you know, is supposed to be oral,
yeah,
and instead turns out it means something completely different,
something else.
Well, and at one point they're like, they tell some of the boys, oh, meet us at like Sheep's Meadow Park or something like that.
Oh, and Lori, I mean, obviously probably a reference to Lori from Halloween.
I wouldn't surprise me.
Ends up dressing like Little Red Riding Hood.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, well, that also makes sense.
And so they're walking along. Lori kind of gets separated. She wants her first time to be special, is what she tells her sister.
She's trying to find a special guy, so she stays behind in town while the rest of them head out with their dates.
Yep. And so this is at one point Danielle calls and she's like, oh, I found a guy for you. He's got a nice personality. And it's a big fat guy dressed as a baby.
And that's... Yeah, because as soon as she says, oh man, he's funny, he's got a great personality, and he's like, and he's ugly as hell. Right?
Yeah. There's also a brief scene where because I think earlier on we also saw that couple from the beginning of the movie. They were walking by maybe the costume shop.
Yes.
We see that same couple and they're walking by an alleyway. We see a woman kind of like making out with a guy in an alleyway.
And then he bites her and she starts to scream for help. And that couple from the beginning ignores her.
Yep. And then she kind of turns around and gets jumped by the vampire again. And we see her dead body sitting on the street corner, kind of sitting next to a bunch of other guys with fake blood makeup on.
I thought the vampire looked kind of familiar, and we'll find out why later.
Also, I wanted to say that scene reminded me of I Know What You Did Last Summer. The scene where you think Sarah Michelle Gellar gets away.
Yeah.
And you know, she makes it right to like the edge of the parade route and then gets jumped right before she's able to do it. Kind of same thing. She runs to the end of the alley. You think she's safe, and then no one believes her, and the vampire's right behind her. As Lori's kind of making her way to the party, couldn't find a guy to go with. She gets does she get jumped by the vampire?
I think he kind of lures her in a little bit at first, and she's like kind of like investigating what he's doing or whatever. Like maybe he's trying to seduce her a little bit, and then he bites her.
Yep. And so she lets out a scream. We then get Danielle and her sister and her friends kind of all talking. And I think she maybe tries calling her on her cell phone.
Yeah.
Doesn't pick up. And then we just hear like a screaming and like a loud thud as a red-caped person falls kind of in the middle of the party. Everyone's a little freaked out.
It's the vampire guy, and he's all like beaten up and scared.
Yep, and Lori walks out, and I think one of the other girls goes and takes off his mask, and it reveals that it's Principal Wilkins.
Well, first she's like, I can't believe he bit me. And then, they rip off the mask, and it's our friend Steve on his hot date.
Yeah, and at one point, one of the girls like goes and reaches into his mouth because you're like, oh shit, it's a real vampire, and she takes out his fake vampire teeth.
Well, and she remarks, wow, these are good.
Yep. And then, you know, basically she's like, oh, you know, I'm glad you get to be Lori's first time. And then I think at one point Lori's like, be gentle. And then all the girls start to like take their clothes off, and they all start like, you know, I think they essentially start howling as they all start transforming into werewolves.
And I gotta say, sexiest werewolf transformation scene I think I've ever seen.
It's great. But it's also the effects are so good. You watch as they like start cutting their own skin open and like ripping away to reveal like werewolf fur underneath.
Yep, and as this is happening, and as Lori's devouring Steve, Sam's just over sitting on a log, like kicking his feet.
Yeah, just adorable little Sam sitting there just having a blast. We'll then cut back to what Mr. Krieg was doing.
Why was Mr. Krieg banging on the window for help?
And so he goes and some kids go up to his front door, ring the doorbell, and he scares them off.
With his dog, yeah.
Yeah. His dog's wearing like some kind of monster costume with glowing eyes.
So it's like he's not completely anti-Halloween, but he doesn't like to hand out candy. is a tradition.
He goes into his house. I think he even maybe like some of the kids dropped their candy and he picks up like one of their candy bars and starts munching on it. Doesn't really like it, puts it in his pocket, starts drinking some hooch.
I'm gonna go for what I really want.
And we get like a couple scenes of like the stuff he's watching on TV. There's a scene from I think like maybe the original House on Haunted Hill, and there's a scene from Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, which I thought was clearly a reference to the werewolf movie.
Oh, and so like as the night goes on, his house gets egged. He opens the door, and then his lawn is full of jack-o'-lanterns.
And we get that scene where he goes back and yells at Principal Wilkins, like in the backyard.
Yeah, and he's like, "Are you done taking a crap yet?" Dude?
Yeah, like we get the opposite side of the conversation, which I thought was a really neat way to do it.
Yeah, and then so he starts he hears some noise upstairs, so he goes to investigate, and like his walls have like stuff scrawled all over.
Oh, no, well, it's even better than that. There's a jack-o'-lantern sitting in the corner. And he's kind of looking at it, and it like flames shoot out of the top, and then we see all the walls covered in like "trick or treat, give me something good to eat."
Yep.
And there was like an animatronic zombie hand in his bed that he went to like go and investigate, and that's when he then gets stabbed in the ankle.
Yes, the good old ankle stab for any Pet Cemetery fans out there.
Michael Dougherty knew what he was doing. Like there's just so many like little references, and I'm like, I think that's what that's a reference to.
It has to be.
And then we get Sam standing there with a holly ho candy bar with a razor blade sticking out of the end.
Yep.
And one of the little things, Mr. Krieg's able to blast him away with his shotgun. And starts like walking down the stairs, trips and falls on something, and lands in like a bunch of candy, but also a bunch of razor blades. They've cut up his hand a bunch.
Yep. And then he starts kind of limping, crawling away.
Yep. He's able to get to the front door and like slide. Yes, he has a bunch of locks on his front door for some reason.
Those damn kids.
And he goes and he's able to slide all the locks open, and then we see Sam doing the classic horror movie ceiling crawl, and like turns and looks at him and jumps down. They fight some more.
Oh, and he gets another blast off with the shotgun, and and he rips off his burlap sack.
Yep. And then at one point, like we think he's kind of safe, and then Sam's hand got disconnected in one of the shotgun blasts,
blasted off,
and is still moving around, and he fights with that a little bit.
Yeah, and then that goes and like crawls over and reattaches itself, and then you get a good look at his like weird shriveled. It's like Pumpkinhead, if Pumpkinhead was like a fetus.
Yeah,
I would say it's probably what it looks like.
It's Pumpkinhead, like I think you said like little kid Pumpkinhead or something like that.
It's like Pumpkinhead Jr.
and with maybe a bit more pumpkin to his Pumpkinhead.
Yes, very jack-o'-lantern theme. Honestly, I wonder if it's not a reference to that mask.
Oh, it could be.
From, Season of the Witch.
Yeah, we got. I did a little redecorating in our recording space, and got a Halloween 3 Season of the Witch mask, the pumpkin mask up there. Sam like takes his burlap sack, puts it back over his head, takes a bite out of this awesome jack-o'-lantern lollipop. If you've been to Spirit, you've seen it.
Goes to stab Mr. Krieg with it.
Yep. And like we think like Mr. Krieg like lets out a scream and then kind of opens his eyes, and Sam lifts away, and it was the candy bar that was in his pocket.
And he gives the candy bar to Sam, and Sam's like, "Oh, well, I guess I'll leave this."
Yep, we got his candy, and he just leaves through the front door. And we then kind of get Sam's interaction of the scene at the beginning of the movie.
So basically Mr. Krieg is confused, and in the struggle, a bunch of the pictures got knocked off the fireplace, and they're starting to burn up in the fire. And you could see that Mr. Krieg was a bus driver.
Yep, and not only a bus driver, he was the bus driver, because it's all the same kid costumes.
All the same Halloween costumes in the fireplace.
And so he kind of like looks out. I think we see Sam kind of go and do the beginning of the opening of the movie, and Mr. Krieg kind of like looks out and he's like, "Well, not my problem anymore."
Yep, he's all bandaged up now, so when his doorbell rings, he looks like half of a mummy, basically.
Yeah, we get three little pigs, three sisters run up and they get some candy. And then they all run off and Mr. Krieg goes to leave.
Oh, I thought it was nice. The kids are like, great costume, Mr. Krieg.
Yeah. As he's like all beat to hell.
Yeah.
And he goes to leave the front door. The doorbell rings again instantly. He turns around and answers it. And it's all the zombie kids from the school bus.
And he screams, and that's it.
Yeah, we get a couple more like comic book art scenes, and then the movie ends.
Oh, he also sees, I wanted to make a note, he sees Rhonda pulling a wagon full of jack-o'-lanterns.
Oh, yes.
When he comes out.
Yeah, we get, yeah, that's really cool, too.
Oh, and Lori and her friends drive by. I think it's post-feast.
Yep. And, but yeah, just so good. Just so many neat, like, little things where it all kind of ties back to itself.
It all ties together there in that last scene. Oh, because Steve's son Billy is sitting on the porch waiting for his dad to come home too,
and he's dressed like he's wearing a white button-down shirt with a big blood stain on the front.
I'm dressed like my dad. But I mean, honestly, if there is a sequel, I hope we get to see grown-up Rhonda and grown-up Billy.
I would like to. I was actually going to say that as well. Like, I think that would be such a cool way to kind of tie back to the original movie. Sam can be the same age.
I mean, you could even carry over Mr. Creek because they never really showed him die.
Yep.
Maybe the kids just like harass him every Halloween or something.
And that's why he has so many locks on his doors. It's because every year he doesn't answer for the zombie kids.
Yep.
But this year he was compelled to.
Well, and I think it's mostly because he's like, well, if I gave candy and made Sam leave, maybe I should just start handing out candy.
Yep.
Be safer.
Yeah, maybe I won't get attacked again if I follow the other Halloween traditions. But yeah, do you want to get into the minutia section?
Yes, let's go.
All right, where would you like to start?
I mean, let's start at how Halloween-y this thing is.
Halloween spirit, how Halloween-y is the movie, how Halloween-y are the kills.
I mean, this might be the most Halloween-y movie of all time.
I was going to say, I put down 100% on both. Like, this is more Halloween-y than I think, this is more Halloween-y than any Halloween movie.
I was going to say, this is more Halloween than Halloween.
Like, there's costumes, there's decorations, there's shit in every single scene.
Most movies are just set at Halloween, and that's it. You see, like, a few trick-or-treaters, a few jack-o'-lanterns. That's all you get.
Like, this is the scene in Halloween 6 where there's the big Halloween party.
This is
that, but the entire movie.
This movie is based in Halloween lore.
Yep.
Like, actual Halloween lore.
And I mean, the kills also, like, Sam is basically harassing Mr. Krieg with a fucking with Halloween candy. Like,
well, yeah, and I mean basically all the kills. I mean, werewolves, very Halloween, ripping people apart. I mean, serial killers, very Halloween.
Yeah, vampire kind of very Halloween.
Very Halloween.
Zombies.
Ghosts.
Yep. No, it's all right there.
And so you got all the bases covered. You got all the decorations and costumes you could ever think of. I mean, tons. The jack-o'-lanterns were actually made of resin, and some of them were made of like a ceramic material, and that's why they look so cool.
No, all the Halloween, all the Halloween lanterns, all the jack-o'-lanterns look so fucking good.
But that led to, there was a funny tagline I kept seeing around that said, "No pumpkins were harmed in the making of this movie."
Oh, I did not see that part. I'll have to go look for that.
Because they're all fake jack-o'-lanterns.
Oh man, and there's so many things like in this movie, like it related to the Halloween stuff, related to like all the scenes of people having fun at Halloween that like 100% you see again in Krampus. Like there's so much stuff where it's like, no, I clearly, like, this is why Michael Dougherty was successful, because all the it hits my brain in the exact same spot that Krampus does with just how Christmassy Krampus is, how Halloweeny this movie is.
It brings back a lot of Halloween memories for you, and like the kind of scary ghost stories you used to like to hear as a kid. And I mean, Krampus does basically the same thing. I mean, that family get together in Krampus for Christmas feels more like real Christmas than I think any other Christmas movie.
Christmas Vacation, probably, like those.
I would say, yeah, both of those high on the list for realistic Christmas.
But
it's
yeah,
not a Wonderful Life.
But yeah, this is just, it's a Wonderful Knife. But yeah, this will probably be the most Halloweeny movie we will do.
I mean, the best way I could describe it is basically like a love letter to Halloween. I would say in general, just like the holiday itself.
No, I'm excited to see what Trick or Treat 2 does to top what this movie did.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be hard to do.
Yep. Do you want to do Burnt Out Jack-O-Lantern, Brilliant Jack-O-Lantern?
Sure.
Since we've done a lot of praising, let's Burnt Out Jack-O-Lantern, one thing we would fix in the movie. Brilliant Jack-O-Lantern, like one other thing we want to praise.
Burnt Out Jack-O-Lantern. I don't say this very often about movies we watch, Jay, but I wish this could have been longer. I wish we would have had a little more time to develop some of these characters. Like the opening two people, I think they're seeing what like kind of party and stuff they were up to beforehand could have been interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think getting a little more time with grumpy old Mr. Krieg throughout the night could have been interesting. Like see him maybe breaking some more traditions, like maybe he tries to like steal candy from a kid or something like that. And I mean, seeing more of what dumbass Charlie was up to probably would have been fun.
Oh no, yeah, it would have been cool to stretch out the beginning a little bit more.
Yeah, it's like, and just and seeing maybe a little more of the other werewolf ladies because they kind of just disappear from the story.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been interesting, and I think it's because the movies, I think it's only like 81 minutes long.
No, it is not that long.
I think they could have added like another 15, 20 minutes to flesh out some of this stuff, and it would have been even better.
And also, it's one of those where, like, you said 81 minutes long thereabouts. Like, it feels longer than that too, and you still want more. Like, it is a long 81 minutes, and you want more.
The way that it's woven together, I think, helps make it feel like bigger than it actually is. And I think, honestly, yeah, with a little more budget and a little more time, I think it could have been, like, amazing.
My Burnt Out Jack-O-Lantern, and this is the nitpickiest of nitpicky things. I didn't like that you get to see Sam's whole face. I didn't like the whole pumpkin head. Like I would have rather. Things are so much cooler, like, when you don't see them. And I would have rather you not see Sam's face at all.
Yeah.
Or you get kind of like a glimpse, but you're not really sure what you're looking at.
Yeah, a little glimpse could have been better, I think.
Like, I know it's a small, very nitpicky thing, but it's just like one little thing. I think like that one little thing would have made me like the movie, just that much more. Like, it's one of those things you see him and you're like, he looks better with the bag on his head.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I could see that. I thought the effect was well done, like his mask or whatever.
Oh no, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It could have been better to leave him a little more mysterious.
Or like you do a scene where like he like rips away like part of it, and you see kind of part of his face, and Sam's able to like throw it back over or whatever,
like stitch the bag back together or something. Yeah,
but yeah, that's one thing I would have done.
I could see that.
Brilliant Jack-O-Lantern.
For me, I would say probably the practical effects, because I love good practical effects, and this has like some top-notch practical gore effects, and just like. I found out the pumpkins are all practical effects because none of them are even real jack-o'-lanterns. Like the shotgun blast effect, like when he shoots Sam and blows off his hand and shoots him and like destroys part of his bag that's covering his face and then rips the bag off of him, looks amazing. Like the kid vomiting, like I talked about before, looks absolutely disgusting. Even like the throat slit at the beginning with the like jagged edge of the sucker is great.
Oh no, that's one of my favorite things. I for me, like, the two things in this movie besides like Sam himself that like stick out in my mind are the like as symbols of this movie are the Holly Ho bar with the razor blade in it and that sucker, like, which are both Sam connected things, but like I like on their own too. They're just one of those things where I see it, I'm like, oh, Halloween or Trick or Treat.
The werewolf transformations look awesome. Even like the bite, when he bites her, it feels like a real bite. When Steve's in his vampire costume and kills that first lady, all the impact and like blood effects look really good.
Oh, and when Steve gets thrown out of the tree, like he tries to climb away, he's got a compound fracture. That looks painful.
Oh yeah, I mean, we even winced at that when we saw it the first time. But yeah, I mean, the effects, I gotta say, and just like the set dressing, I think whoever did that was amazing.
No, for me, the thing I wanted to praise was, you kind of already mentioned it, how well interwoven the stories are. Like how it doesn't really, like, it just feels like one long movie. You don't kind of go, oh, now we're in this part of the movie. Now we're in this part of the movie. I think if we didn't say, we kind of implied for A Christmas Horror Story. Like it really felt like you're like, okay, now we're jumping to this part of the story. Now and like This one, it feels like it is just one long story.
I agree, and that really is the sign of a masterful anthology, because usually the biggest weakness of an anthology is the unevenness. It's like, there's always a couple stories you're really interested in that are really well done, and then there's always that one or two stories that you're like, we have to go back to this. And even like in the Christmas Horror Story, the way they're woven together, you still get those, like the dead nun baby thing. That one always drags the most for me.
Yep.
And it's like, really, we're back to this.
No, exactly.
Yeah, you don't get that in this one.
Talking about effects, let's move on. Halloween costume. Favorite set design, favorite costume choices.
Mr. Krieg looks like the perfect curmudgeonly old man.
Oh yeah, no, I think you said to me at one point, you're like, is that Brian Cox? Like,
Yeah.
like that makeup looks good. Like,
Oh yeah, they
hardly
definitely did a good
recognize him.
job. You don't hardly recognize him at the beginning.
Of course, Sam's costume, the bag over his head, the little orange pajamas with the butt flap, like, fantastic look.
Yep. The werewolf, like we talked about before, the werewolf transformation, then the werewolf costumes once they're changed up. It's like, I'd say pretty top tier werewolf, honestly.
No, you get so many good scenes of like them splitting their own flesh open and just ripping it off. Like, it looks so good.
The Rhonda at her house, the jack-o'-lantern like field in front of her house, amazing.
The kids on the bus, especially if I had to highlight two, I love the devil mask and I love the vampire mask.
The vampire one stuck out to me. It's great.
But I think, there's a reason why they sell literally those kids masks at Halloween stores, like, which I just thought was so cool that, like, even these are like so popular that the masks from the movie that aren't the main character's mask, like, are on shelves places.
I liked Steve's costume, which then his son adopts.
I thought that was a nice callback.
He looks like the perfect serial killer that's hiding in plain sight.
Also, the girl at the beginning of the movie.
What was her name? Let me see real quick. I think
Emma.
Yep, Emma.
Her robot costume. It's so cheap and like cheesy, but I loved it. I thought it looked so good.
It's like a great 50s robot costume.
And I mean, and there's so many costumes in the back. Everybody you see is wearing a costume, and it looks so good.
The big Halloween party in the town square that Lori walks through is just amazing everywhere.
But yeah, I mean, and then like you said, all the gore effects just look fantastic.
It's just, you usually don't. Very rarely do you see practical effects done this well.
No, it's really impressive. Last thing we got before we kind of wind down, Monster Mash. Favorite quotes.
Here we go.
One we already mentioned. Charlie Brown's an asshole.
Yes, go in and watch Charlie Brown and the Great Pumpkin. Charlie Brown's an asshole.
Billy Wilkins, language.
I had the exchange between Chip and Rhonda when they first come to her house.
Okay.
Chip says, "You must really like Halloween," when they're walking past her giant field of jack-o'-lanterns when they're leaving. And she's like, "You mean Sam Hain?" And he's like, "What?" She's like, "Sam Hain, also known as All Hallows Eve, also known as Halloween. Predating Christianity, the Celtic holiday was celebrated on the one night between autumn and winter when the barrier between the living and dead was thinnest, and often involved rituals that included human sacrifice." And then they both just stand there in complete silence. Rhonda's like, "I like your eye patch." Just like, huh.
What I love too, like, that's a little bit of foreshadowing. We get little bits of foreshadowing throughout the movie. Because that's not the first time that, like, the barrier between worlds and the living and the dead coming back. Yep. That's not, because it's also mentioned by Principal Wilkins at the beginning of the movie. So, like, then they come back at the end of the movie. So I thought that was kind of a nice touch. What I had also from Chip was, I don't even know what that was. Coach Taylor was in a hot dog costume, butt fucking a pig, I think.
Yeah, I had.
And then Macy's like, "Chip, focus."
Steven to Charlie when he's like, "Wait, there's another tradition. Always check your candy." Yeah, that one was great.
One that I had from the Werewolf Women, when Danielle's like, one of the guy she brought, I think it's the cashier at at the costume store. She's like, "Not now, Andrew." And then he goes, "Josh." And then she goes, "Whatever."
From the beginning, Henry and Emma, I'm sorry, Em, don't put it out yet. Wait, not yet. And she's like, "What?" He's like, "You're supposed to keep it lit." "Why?" "Ancient tradition." And she's like, "Henry, it's Halloween, not Hanukkah. I'm lit and you're lit."
Oh man. There was one other one. I didn't write it down. Mr. Krieg has like a couple like really silly lines. And one, I think he's like, "Oh, fiddle dee dee," or something like that.
Yeah. Something.
But also like at one point he yells at Principal Wilkins. He's like, when he's like, "Who's out there? I got an NRA membership and a shotgun over the mantle."
Yep. It was, I think when, they're like, Macy is down there and she's like, "I don't know. It must be around here somewhere. I can't see shit in this fog." And Schrader's like, "I think I found a dead kid." Macy's like, "That's me, asshole." And he's like I said.
I don't even think I caught that one. That's great. Oh man. Yeah, that's all I got for Monster Mash.
I had one more. Let me see. Oh yeah, the creepy Billy when they go down and they carve the jack-o'-lantern. And he's like, "Let's make a scary face this time." It's like perfect little creepy line delivery for the kid.
No, that kid's great. Like you said, I hope Billy is in Trick or Treat too. But yeah, let's move on to final rating. I mean, I'm sure everyone kind of knows that we liked this movie, but let's kind of talk about what we think about it. Every episode we rate our movies on one of three categories because it's the Halloween Spooktacular. We're got Halloween themed ratings. They are: is the movie candy corny? Is it seasonally spooky? Or is it 6 feet under?
You can go first.
So I it's somewhere between. It's candy corny. I mean, it's a little bit seasonally spooky. Like there's a couple, no real jump scares and nothing really to make you like, really scared. But like, it's got a little bit of atmosphere, but it's certainly more funny than it is truly scary. And it does a good job of all that. I mean, Sam's an iconic look. The all the kills are great. The story is fantastic. I mean, there's not enough good you can say about this movie because every time you watch it, you see something else that you're like, "Oh, that's so good too." Like I said, it tickles my brain in the same section that like, I think I said to you when we did Silent Night, Deadly Night, like there's something about that movie and that movie alone that kind of like tickles my brain in a certain way. This tickles my brain in the same way, but for Halloween movies. Like it feels so damn Halloween-y.
Yep. I went with candy corny as well because there's nothing really scary in this one. But that to say candy corny doesn't mean bad.
Right.
It just means it's more on the funny side than on the scary side.
Like we said, Santa's sleigh. Like, doesn't necessarily hold up as under a rewatch like this does. But like, we literally invented ho 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 hilarious / candy corny for Santa's sleigh.
But I would say basically every time you rewatch this movie, you're probably going to catch something new. Because even on my rewatch just a week later, I caught a few new references and things I didn't catch the first time. And basically, like we said earlier, love letter to Halloween. So many references to other like franchises. So many references to the holiday lore itself. I mean, great sets, great gore. You can't basically. I think if you watch this, you're gonna add it to your rotation of like every year I watch this at Halloween movies.
If you've gone to a Halloween store and you've seen a Sam thing and you're like, "What the fuck is this about?" Like, and just never had, like me. Well, I'll just see it eventually. Go and watch it.
Yes,
just go fucking do it. Like,
if you don't know what we're like, you've never heard of this movie. You've definitely seen stuff from this movie around. You probably just don't realize it.
Yep. No, there's someone we follow on Twitter on our account, Sammy Hain, and literally like their entire personality around Halloween time is Sam from Trick or Treat themed. Like, nice. I post pictures of their yard and just everything is Sam from Trick or Treat.
Nice.
Like truly just a fun movie. I
mean, it's honestly, as time goes on, I think this will be regarded as a classic alongside like Halloween and your Nightmare on Elm Street, your Friday the 13th. And honestly, I think it has strong potential to become a franchise just because of the nature of it, where it's an anthology story.
No, kind of what you're saying. We'll. I was actually going to ask this a little earlier, or a little later. Darcy, the mail girl from Joe Bob, posted on Twitter basically asking, "Is Sam a Halloween icon?" And I mean, 100%, right? Like,
I think he is. Yeah.
At this point, there's as much Sam trick or treat stuff in Halloween stores as there is Chucky, as there is Jason, as there is Freddy, as there is Mike, as there is Mike. So informal, Michael Myers.
Say, wow, you're on a first name basis with Michael Myers. Huh?
As Ghostface. Like there's a big Sam section. There's a bigger Sam section than there is Universal Monsters, which is wild.
I know, it's insane.
But yeah, that's how iconic he is.
No, I think as time goes on, he's going to be regarded in that same. And yeah, I mean, honestly, if anything needed a sequel, I think it is this. And because of course they won't make a sequel to anything that actually needs one.
No, I it's one of those where like I really do want to see a sequel because I'd love to see what else they could do. Also, it's one of those where it's like I don't want to see a sequel because what if it's not as good? But like you need to guard you need to have guarded expectations. But I'm like I'm sure it'll still be a blast.
I mean, I think as long as they keep the same spirit as this one, it would be successful. Because that's honestly the biggest strength of the anthology format too, is it lends itself well to multiple movies. Because you can always tell these multiple stories, and I mean you have characters you could carry over, but I mean you don't even necessarily have to do that. The only character you really need to carry over is Sam.
I was gonna ask that question actually after we did the naughty list. So let's kind of do our naughty list. We'll take a villain, a character, and rank them. I guess it's not naughty list; it's the trick or treat list. Amongst our other Halloween Spooktacular villains, Sam, right? We're talking about Sam being an icon for Halloween. Sam's got to be kind of
He's the enforcer of Halloween.
Yep. And apparently I don't think it said in the movie, but I guess it said somewhere Sam is short for Sam Hain. So like, if that's the case, and Sam, like you said, Sam is the enforcer of Halloween. Sam is maybe like the Halloween demon, I guess, or
pretty much,
or some Halloween
some kind
monster.
of Halloween spirit. Yeah. And,
is he our most powerful? Like,
I mean, I think he would have to be the most powerful because I think he's immortal.
Yep.
Because it's implied he's always been there throughout Halloween history.
Yep. You see him like playing with the dead crow beside the road in the flashback.
So, and I mean, he took 3 shotgun blasts to the face and didn't even phase him, basically.
And and we saw his hand, the hand that got blasted off reconnects itself, is still alive on its own, and then reconnects itself.
So it can even fight on its own. So.
No, it's I'd say it's going to take some hard doing to get Sam off the top of the trick or treat list.
I was going to say Sam. I mean, he's got that Michael Myers quality, but like Michael Myers post druidic ritual or whatever that makes him an immortal killing machine. I mean, also another Halloween reference.
Yep.
But I'd say he'd have to be pretty close to the top. He's definitely more powerful than most Halloween characters.
No, I think he's got to be our trickiest villain.
I was gonna say he doesn't really seem to have any like limitations. Limitations. He doesn't have any limitations.
Oh
either.
Man,
he likes limes, but whatever.
you gotta see your enemies driven before you and feel the limitations of their women.
Lemon meringue pie.
All right. Speaking of pie, let's eat some junk food in a segment we like to call
Garbage Day! Huh? No!
All right, we're winding down here.
Oh, God. So much stuff in that bag.
So we got Halloween Sour Punch Kids Spooky Straws. Sour Punch Spooky Straws.
Sour Punch Spooky Straws.
We got Haribo Sour Vampire Bats.
Oh boy.
Very gummy heavy week this week. I apologize. You've already tried these. You're actually the one who told me about them. Tootsie Roll Harvest Chews.
I did not try all the flavors though on purpose.
All right.
I could try a few here.
Sweet cinnamon, caramel apple, candy corn, and pumpkin spice. So we'll kind of split those up.
few of these bats. Top tier bat shape, by the way.
And then to wash them all down, we got some Mountain Dew Voodoo 5.
Oh boy.
Have you heard the reveal?
Yeah, I heard the reveal, but I don't believe it.
Oh, see, I called it on Twitter before they announced it. I as I was sitting there drinking it, I was like, what does this taste like? I know I've tasted this before. We'll talk about it when we break into that voodoo. That voodoo that you do. Jeff's getting those Tootsie Rolls open.
I'm unwrapping them. Let's see, try and get one of each flavor. That's going to be a challenge.
I think did you get one of each of the straws too?
Oh, there are multiple flavors.
Yeah,
on that?
there's 3 of them: tangerine, grape, and apple.
Oh, okay. Okay, I got all those.
All right.
Let's see. Got caramel apple, cinnamon on the roll, candy corn. What else do we have? Pumpkin spice is what I need. Pumpkin spice. There we go. All right, got one of each on that.
All right. I just did a bite of the grape sour straw.
How you liking that?
Or not grape, sorry, apple. Honestly, like my complaint with Sour Punch straws, like as much as I like them, as much as I think Sour Punch is pretty tasty, like sometimes the flavors just don't shine through. And I'm getting that right here too. Like I can't really tell you that this is apple.
Yeah, if you hadn't told me that was apple, I wouldn't have got apple.
Yeah, no, I'm not getting that at all. Oh, Jeff's popping open the
See
the
this
voodoo.
voodoo, how it does.
I think the grape is a little stronger than the apple. I think the grape flavor is a little more flavor forward.
Now, see, this tastes more like the flavor, I think, than the zero sugar one does.
No, I agree with that. No, it's more prevalent. Yeah, we got full sugar voodoo this time.
It's usually I do zero sugar. Because, I'm fat enough already.
Right. I think this is only like probably my third. Last year when it was the sour gummies, I think I had so many of those voodoos last year. I think this is only like the third bottle I've had.
The orange straw, I would say, is same thing. Basically, you don't really taste much. You said this one was grape. Yeah, I'm not getting grape.
No, I think the grape and the orange are a little stronger than the apple, but the apple is. But none of them have that strong a flavor.
Yeah. All right, you ready for a bat?
Yeah. What did you think of that? Real fast. I guess we'll talk about the voodoo at the end. But like you said, you thought it tasted better than the other one. Mm-hmm. So I got an orange and red bat. And I agree, top tier bat shape.
Mm-hmm. Great bat mold. Usually they don't look anything like what they're supposed to be. But no, you can even see like the veins and the wings and the little eyes and nose on the bat.
I assume this is supposed to be probably their snakes, the Haribo sour snakes or whatever. Twin snakes. Like that's kind of the same flavor I'm getting, but I do think these are a little bit more fun.
Mm-hmm.
I want an all red one like you had.
It's pretty good gummy, I'll say. I'm not that big of a gummy fan, but it's not overly chewy, and it's got a decent flavor to it. It doesn't just taste like mush.
Yeah, let's. I'll crack open the voodoo. That way, I got something to clear the throat with.
Gotta wash this down.
Yep, Voodoo 5 mystery flavor. They've already revealed what it is, but I like the label this year. I like the blue and pink label. Mm-hmm. There's a little mummy over on the to the left hand side of the Mountain Dew logo.
The Mohawk.
Yep, that guy's great.
Yeah.
I think people online are trying to give him a name. They're trying to make him the icon. Instead of the Reaper on the front of the Voodoo can. Also, I don't know if it's been this case in previous years. I love that the Reaper, the outline of the cape hood is a question mark. Mm-hmm. I had not noticed that before. And then a little candle with the number 5 glowing in it.
Pretty cool.
Same deal as last year, though. It's a kind of a milky, like almost opaque color.
And they said it's supposed to be candy corn, right?
No, that's the original.
Oh.
Is candy corn. This one is supposed to be cherry airhead.
Cherry airhead. Okay, that makes more sense.
And that is the first time I had it, I had like just had. I think you can find my endeavors with that on our Twitter account. where like the first time I bit or I took a sip, I was like, I can't, like, it tastes like Starbursts. And I was like, but also I just had like a mouthful of High Chews right beforehand. But the more like I drank it, and the more it kind of like got less of a cold temperature and more down to like a room temperature, the cherry airhead flavor really comes through.
Well, I guessed a cherry flavor, and I was thinking it's definitely not as intense of a cherry flavor as like a Code Red. It's a lot more subtle than that. But it does come through, I will say, if you're kind of not tasting it too well, I'd get a full sugar one, because it does come through better in this than it does in the zero.
And it's like the flavor I got first was that airhead flavor. Like it took me a while to like nail down cherry. But like when I finally started to be like, I think it's an airhead of some kind. I kind of sat like airheads have like a unique kind of flavor to them, and I was like, this tastes like an airhead of some kind. And it was a little while later, I was like, if you had to nail me down, I'd say cherry. And then, a couple weeks later, they revealed it. So,
see, I don't need enough airheads to know the airheads flavor.
But yeah, Jeff's got a couple of those Tootsie Rolls
I did
ready.
pumpkin spice first. Good pumpkin flavor.
All right, caramel apple, sweet cinnamon, candy corn. I need a pumpkin spice.
It's not like overpowering, but you can definitely taste the pumpkin.
There we go. There's pumpkin spice. All right, I got one each.
I'm going for caramel apple now.
All right.
It's a nice bright green.
So the wrappers are all kind of fall colored. Pumpkin spice is an orange color. Caramel apple's kind of a brownish, but it's a green when you unwrap the wrapper. Candy corn's a yellow, and sweet cinnamon is kind of a red. I'll grab that pumpkin spice too. Let Jeff finish so he can give you his thoughts on the
pumpkin spice flavor. Pretty. It definitely has a pumpkin flavor. It has a nice pumpkin smell. It's not like an overpowering flavor, but it's definitely there. Caramel apple, I like the flavor. You definitely get some of that apple flavor in there. And the caramel comes through as you let it melt a little bit. But so far, they're 2 for 2 on flavor.
No, the pumpkin spice is a kind of a, when you unwrap it, it's kind of an orange. No, I wouldn't even say like pumpkin spice. I would say pumpkin pie.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
no, that's what I would think too.
Especially like the creaminess of the Tootsie Roll kind of adds that little.
If you guys eat pumpkin bars with cream cheese frosting, it's kind of like that too.
Yep.
All right, I'm going in on this
candy corn.
Supposedly candy corn. We'll see.
I've heard one thing I've heard. I've not gotten around to checking it out. People say like because people either like or dislike candy corn. I'm kind of I don't really care.
I'm in the middle.
But I've heard the candy corn from Jelly Belly is pretty good. So that's one that like I've kind of been like, maybe if I can find that, I might have to try that and just see. Because like I said, I'm kind of take it or leave it on candy corn. But yeah, the caramel apple's a bright green, looks great, looks fantastic, looks very.
They're 3 for 3 so far. Candy corn does taste like candy corn. But yeah, I was a fan of that apple. I like it. You gotta chew it a little bit to get all the flavor to come through, but I mean it's good.
No, I agree. That apple's really solid.
All right, going in on the sweet cinnamon.
Oh, while we're here, I mean, we kind of talked about how Trick or Treat wasn't very, like the anthology, like you don't notice that as an anthology because it kind of sticks together. Do you want to kind of at least, for some of the other anthologies, we've kind of ranked them. Mm-hmm. So while we're kind of digging into this trash, we can let's rank those sections real fast.
Sure. You want to start or me?
Sure. That's the thing. I'm having a hard time actually. I honestly, I'd almost kind of go in the order we went in for like worst to best, maybe.
For me, I would say the one that was the least interesting story to me was the zombie kid one.
Okay. No, I think the principal, like if you don't consider the principal story part of the werewolf story,
mm-hmm.
if you don't consider Principal Wilkins' story, you kind of consider the serial killer aspect. Like, I think that was probably the one that I liked the least. Maybe the werewolf story, like those two together are probably my two lowest ones.
Mm. I mean, they're all good.
No, they're all great. Like it's hard to narrow them down.
I would say if I had to rank them in my interest, I would say Zombie Kids at the bottom. Then Steve the serial killer.
Okay.
Then the werewolf one. Then the Mr. Creek story is probably my favorite. But I mean, there are elements of his story in all the other ones. So
Yep, and that's the hard thing.
Yeah.
No, I think for me it would probably be Principal Wilkins, the werewolf women, the zombie kids, and then the Mr. Krieg, and then probably like the Sam story at the beginning.
yeah. But it's just
But it's hard, they're so ill defined and they're so well combined together.
honestly, they don't really feel like parts. They just feel like a movie.
Now the candy corn one tastes like candy corn, and like not bad. Like once again, I don't think candy corn's terrible.
No, I think I like them all.
And I just got to unwrap this sweet cinnamon real fast. Kind of a light pink color.
I would say if we're gonna rank these, I would say sweet cinnamon probably on the bottom for me, just because I'm not that big of a fan of the flavor. Then caramel apple, candy corn, and I'd say the pumpkin is probably my favorite.
Oh man, like I'm torn. They are all really solid. We'll go and we'll kind of do our ranking of all the stuff. I think we both agreed Sour Punch straws at the bottom.
Yeah.
Probably Haribo.
Yeah.
Second to bottom.
Vampire bats, I would say. They're cool shape, but they're basically just sours, so.
But then the Voodoo and then the Tootsie Rolls and
Yep.
and my ranking just kind of thinking about it. I'd probably go candy corn, caramel apple, pumpkin spice. Like I said, I think if they called it pumpkin pie, I'd actually feel like I'd give it number one spot. But something about that sweet cinnamon kind of hit something for me. But they're all really good.
Mm-hmm. Very rare that one of these seasonal candy versions like this actually tastes like what it's supposed to.
I'm excited to. I hope they do something for Christmas. I would love to see what Tootsie Roll. Well, these are Harvest chews, but what Tootsie Roll if they do like a holiday chew or something? Mm-hmm. I'd love to see what that is.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Sorry about that. But yeah, that's and yeah, I think this might be the best week we've had so far. Even with the weakness of those sour straws, everything else has been pretty solid.
Yeah, I liked everything. I didn't love the straws, but I mean they're decent.
Yep. I mean, I'm used to taking one of these, sticking it in my Mountain Dew at the movie theater, and drinking it that way. But yeah, they aren't bad. They're just, I mean, they're like they normally are. They're pretty bland. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you want to get in touch with us, send us an email. Be involved in the Garbage Day segments going forward. So once the Halloween Spooktacular is done, Jeff doesn't have to shove a bunch more crap in his face. Send us an email. horrorfortheholidays@gmail.com, just the name of our podcast.
I'm sure my wife would appreciate it.
I'm sure she would too. Get in touch with us on social media. We are on Instagram. We are on TikTok. We're on Twitter. We're on Threads. We're on Blue Sky. We should probably set up a Facebook page at some point.
Might as well.
But until we do that, we're on those places. We are at horror4 holidays. And also look for us on the Q app. That's usually how we decide our movies. QUEUE.
Yes,
it's got a little function where you can spin a wheel, choose a movie.
We take our marching orders from Q.
Oh boy!
And if you want to know more about that, find us at Horror for the Holidays. YouTube.com/Horror for the Holidays is our backup channel / becoming our main channel, I guess, because apparently a lot of people like to listen to podcasts on YouTube.
Yeah, we need to figure out I need to figure out how to do that thing where we can post our Instagram, where we can post our podcast on TikTok. That's apparently an option now. See if we can get a few more listeners that way.
We've become TikTok guys. I'm sure there's lots of new recruits for Q on there.
Get in touch with us on YouTube. Leave us a comment. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. Same with your podcatcher of choice.
I mean, for this one, a fun thing to do in the YouTube comments would be your ranking for the shorts in this.
I agree. I think that'd be a great thing to do. Yeah, leave us your ranking for what you thought of the shorts, or for any of the episodes. Tell us what you've thought of the junk food so far.
Yeah.
But yeah, also leave us a review on your podcatcher of choice. Especially if you hate the show, 5 stars. This thing fucking sucks. These guys are fat as shit.
Sounding fat as shit, eating on camera again.
Yeah. They're trying their best, but they're so goddamn incompetent that they can't fucking eat away from the microphone because
I'm
they're
doing
idiots.
my best.
We're big fat guys. It's hard to get away from the microphone.
Exactly. I'm taking up most of this room as we speak.
But the best way to spread the word about the podcast is to tell a friend. If there's someone you think that would like this dumb thing that we do, that we take time out of our week to do, and it's a fun excuse for us to spend time together. But if you appreciate it and you enjoy listening to this, tell a friend that you think might enjoy this show. That word of mouth is the best way to spread.
Definitely.
And other than that,
next week we're gonna have our finale of the 2023 Horror for the Holidays Halloween Spooktacular coming at you.
Finally, we're almost done.
Jay will be able to rest finally.
Next week we'll do Halloween 2.
Yeah, we already announced that, so it's no big surprise.
Yeah, so we won't, and then we'll finally go back to our regular schedule, and we'll then kind of see how we feel about going weekly after that.
Some things may be happening soon.
Yeah, and then not only will we go back to our regular schedule, we'll go back to our regular format of doing Christmas horror movies.
Well, supposedly Christmas horror movies.
Right. Yeah, we'll see how Christmassy they are. That's part of that's part of the whole process.
American Scream, anybody?
But we will we might take some time too if we both wind up going to see Thanksgiving. We might take some time because it won't be streamable.
No.
So I don't want to commit to doing a Thanksgiving episode this year.
I was going to say, why don't we just maybe if it's an off week or whatever, maybe we could just do like a little special reviewing what we thought about it in the theater.
Yeah,
We'll call it the Horror for the Holidays 2023 Thanksgiving Special.
And we'll then maybe a later year we'll actually tackle there's a couple Thanksgiving movies. We'll figure something out
We
for
could
that.
do a like a reaction to it and then do like a full review later on.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll figure that out when we get there. Otherwise, thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being a part of this community. It's a lot of fun, and it's fun interacting with people.
Finally, something is growing, not just the host.
We'll see you again in a week. Thanks for listening.
Goodbye.
Bye.